And it's a line drive to
Key lime margarita?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Just watch.
Whoa.
Hi.
Go for it.
Thanks.
What about me?
Got you covered. Hey!
Whoa.
Hey!
Hey.
Hey.
Lefty O'Doul's drink mixes at these fine stores.
What are you doing? I'm getting the girl back.
With a live audience at the Gold Dust Lounge at Fisherman's Wharf. It's the Will and Willie Show, brought to you by Lefty O'Doul's Drink Mixes, your bartender in a bottle. I'm Paul Wells.
I'm Will Durst.
And I'm Willie the Brown.
And we're here with Jeff Adachi, our public defender in San Francisco. Welcome back to the show. You're actually the first guest that we've had on twice in the last 5 or 6 years.
Is that right?
That is correct.
Are you sure they're not just two of me, or no?
Well, is there someone who's a prosecutor?
But don't be misled.
Here's what I want to know.
It's what we pay our guests.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's that big fee.
In drinks.
Yeah.
Where's my second drink? Anyway.
The housekeeper.
2-drink minimum.
Give up a drink for
2-drink minimum. That's my
Mr.
charge.
Adachi, please.
To listen to this show as
But
well.
you're asking about witness 40.
Witness 40,
Yeah.
who was part of the grand jury testimony in the Ferguson case.
Well, I mean, most people have not taken the time to look at the grand jury transcripts. And there are 5,000 pages of transcripts that they put in front of this grand jury. Now, usually the grand jury transcripts like this, because the prosecutor's just going to put on their best witnesses. What they did here is they stacked the deck against an indictment. They put on officers to say, I would have done the same thing that Darren Wilson did. They put on witnesses who were incredible. The main witness, this is the one that's been...
He was the prosecutor, though.
Right.
He was supposed to be prosecuting the case.
Right. I mean, the whole thing...
So what you're saying is he cherry-picked the evidence, he gave the grand jury, and there was no defense attorney, there was nobody else but him.
Right. The way a grand jury works is that you have 12 citizens and you have only the prosecutor presenting the case. There's no defense attorney. And so the prosecutor controls the proceeding. That's why they say a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich, right? And what they did is even listening to the questions that the prosecutor asked, they would ask questions like, wasn't Michael Brown threatening? At one point they said, didn't Michael Brown say something ignorant to the officer that caused him to do what he did? These are questions that maybe a defense attorney might ask, but not a prosecutor.
Objection, Your Honor.
Right. And in this witness 40, this is the main witness that they relied upon. She says that Michael Brown charged the officer after supposedly fleeing for his life from the officer. He turns around and charges the officer. Well, it turns out that this woman has perjured herself in the past, has 2 felony forgery convictions. She claims that she was in the area because she wanted to find out what it was like to be in the black community. She posted all of these racist things, using expletive words to describe black people, and even donated money to Officer Darren Wilson's fund. And this is who they relied upon. It is an outrage. It is insane that they presented her testimony. They knew this at the time. They knew all of this at the time, and yet I've never seen such a thing. It's mind-boggling.
Well, let me ask this question. Isn't there a federal investigation currently going on? And in your opinion, what are the prospects for that federal investigation to produce some evidence of relief from this horror that we are all experiencing as a result of the grand jury stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. The federal government, when they step in, they have to show that there's a violation of civil rights. It's a much harder standard to show that an officer sort of set out to violate somebody's civil rights, even though they did so, even though that happened, I think, in this case. But there's no prohibition against a prosecutor doing another grand jury proceeding. Now, the reason why that's not going to happen is this prosecutor doesn't want to see a grand jury proceeding. This prosecutor had ties to the police department, was supported by the police department. His family members were police officers. I think his father was a police officer. And, he is not somebody who's going to go after a police officer and just present an objective case. And so that's why anybody in the right mind is saying when it comes to these police shootings, you have to have an independent prosecutor. Bring in an independent prosecutor. We've done it before. We did it in Watergate. We did it in the Iran-Contra scandal when the government could be trusted. John Kecker, a defense attorney from San Francisco, was brought in to be the prosecutor in that case. Heck, I'll be the prosecutor in that case. I mean, we need somebody who's going to come in and independently look at the facts and
Can the state of Missouri do something?
They could. The governor could appoint a special prosecutor, but he has said that he's not going to do that. I don't think they're going to take any action. There will be a civil rights lawsuit filed by the family. But then again, I mean, this is a situation where this officer got over $1 million. $1 million. He got $500,000 from George Stephanopoulos to be on his show, right? To talk about what it was like to kill Michael Brown. That's what he did. And he went on crowdfunding and he raised $800,000. So he's a millionaire now. But where's the justice?
Well, what a
for
way
that?
to retire if you're a police officer.
There's something wrong with that. There's something.
Fundamentally. Our guest is Jeff Adachi, San Francisco public defender on the Will and Willie Show.
Let's talk for a minute about the New York situation, the Staten Island.
Staten Island.
New York, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Will, I know New York.
I grew up there.
Sacrosanct for you, but you know the Staten Island situation in which Eric Gardner was choked to death
Right.
with 3 or 4 officers standing around watching him being choked to death, and he apparently kept uttering words, "I can't breathe, I
Right.
can't breathe."
11 times.
Yes.
Said it
now,
11
there's
times.
been no grand jury report. None. Only a grand jury result. Period. What's the status of that in the New York world?
Well, that's the thing. Everyone's talking about body cameras are the answer, and I do support body cameras. I think that where body cameras have been used, it's reduced excessive force complaints.
When they're
and
turned
probably-
on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
when they're
that's
turned
the
on.
thing. They
And
shouldn't
that's
be
the
able
thing.
to turn
They have
them
be
off.
turned on. But there are
When
some,
they're on duty.
Yeah, there are some police departments
No
that
off
have,
switch.
that have implemented these successfully. But it shows that that's not enough, because even if you have it on video, you have a crystal clear video showing what happened.
11
to this
minutes
man, right?
of his being choked
Right.
to death.
Right.
11
Right.
minutes of video.
And showing an illegal chokehold, because these chokeholds are banned
By the police department
banned
in the city of New York,
in the city of New York.
oddly enough.
And you see him doing a chokehold, and still there is no indictment. And so even the people who were skeptical about Michael Brown because there was no video had to look at that video in the case of Eric Gardner and say, what is going on here? I mean, you have video evidence, it's as clear as day, but again, you have the same problem. The prosecutor from Staten Island, again, very cozy with the police, has a relationship with, all of the police, and that's true anywhere. I mean, in politics, what prosecutor is going to go against the police, right? What politician is going to go against the police? It's not going to happen. And so they have an inbred motivation not to do an objective presentation of the case.
Jeffrey, did you not just cause several police personnel in San Francisco to lose their jobs?
No, I didn't cause that. They caused that. They were on videotape stealing. And we happened to go to the hotel after telling judges for months and months that this was going on. And of course, we weren't believed. Every time, we filed those motions to suppress enforcing the Fourth Amendment, saying that the police were illegally breaking into these apartments, deaf ears by prosecutors and police and the courts. And it wasn't until an investigator from my office went to the Henry Hotel over on 6th Street, downloaded 1.5 years worth of videotape. And it showed in every instance, what we did is we compared the videotape to the police reports that were written by the officers under penalty of perjury. Every instance it showed that they were lying. And we had clients who said, hey, somebody stole from me after they came and arrested me. We thought it was like the hotel manager or something. Turns out, we look at the video, it shows that the police were bringing their property out. So yes, there were 3 officers that were indicted. One of the officers turned state's evidence. And I watched part of the trial. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. One of the officers talked about how they would basically kidnap drug dealers. They would arrest drug dealers illegally. They would find out where they kept their stash. They would get judges to sign search warrants. They'd go over their house. In one case, they found $30,000 buried in the ground in heroin, and they kept it, and they sold it.
Sold it.
I mean, go figure.
But that's the San Francisco Police Department. And so far, we don't have any incident of the San Francisco Police Department engaging in the Ferguson kind of situation or engaging in the Staten Island situation.
Well, we do have a case of a person by the name of Nieto who was shot in Bernal Heights, and there's a lot of concern about what happened there. There was no body camera. In San Francisco, they only have body cameras on the sergeants. That's like, having the body cameras on the boss, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't see that. I think they got to have body cam. In Richmond, California, where the chief has gotten in trouble for holding the sign that said Black Lives Matter. I don't get that. But every officer there has a body camera, and it only cost them $84,000 for 160 officers. In San Francisco, they said it's going to cost $24 million for 2,000 officers. The math doesn't make any
Somebody
sense.
is juicing the math.
Well, you talked about how these cameras need to be turned on, however.
Yeah, because they have body cameras in New Orleans, and none of them ever produce any footage.
Well, I watched 24. Was that Jack Bauer?
Yes, yeah.
You recall
Yeah.
when we were on the air together? I was a
You were on
fan.
24?
No, we were doing the mornings
Oh.
in San Francisco.
And I'm a friend of Jack
And
Bauer.
the
I'm a
day
friend.
after,
I'm a
You should
friend.
try to get on that show, though. Man.
No, I didn't try to get on the
we had
show.
3 hours on the air, and these guys would spend 2.5
He was in
talking
the
about
God-
the
he was in
TV
the
show
Godfather.
24.
He was in The Godfather.
Yes, he was.
Godfather 3.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I mean, God-
yeah, come on.
Godfather.
Godfather 3.
They show them all together now, man.
He could have been Governor Brown, Senator Brown.
That was cool,
How
man.
do you have time to be the public defender? How do you know all this?
I watch more movies than you, man. Have you seen Top 5 yet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, Top 5, is it? You haven't written about it.
No,
This could be the story of Will Durst's life, man. I mean,
No.
being a stand-up comic.
No,
Being
wait.
a stand-up-
Back up.
I'm doing top 5 on Sunday.
It is
I'm doing
calm.
the
We might mention it
invitation
today.
game on Sunday.
In the last
And I'm
segment.
doing St. Vincent.
I mean, did you think the first 5 minutes of that movie
Movie
was terrible?
time.
And then it just transforms, and it was a great movie. It was like
Well, it should
was
be
like
but it should be an X-rated movie.
but it was like Woody Allen on hip hop.
You think so?
It was good. It was well written.
Because in Annie Hall, he plays a comic.
And it talked about how hard it is to be a stand. We were talking about that earlier, right? That, we talk about trial lawyers, and I said the only thing that's tougher than being a trial lawyer with a tough case is being a stand-up comic, right?
But a trial lawyer, man, that audience can't go anywhere. I mean, that jury
true.
is stuck there. I have to worry about walkouts. You don't have to worry about walkouts.
They'll get in the back of the bar. It's howling at this.
You've had some walkouts?
I
at the
I
Gold Dust
occasionally
Lounge.
touch on a touchy subject, and people
and
will
people get up
protest with their feet. Yes.
Oh, yeah? But they've already paid, so what do you get?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, you do political humor, which is tough, because you got to talk to Republicans, Independents, Democrats, Greens, right? You got to.
And you got to keep writing new material. My William Howard Taft material doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't have the same.
But,
vibe.
Will, my walkouts ask for their money back.
You already cast a check, man.
Yeah, but they aren't walking out alone. They're being escorted. And they're wearing a nice orange suit, and they have ankle bracelets.
When I was a real practicing lawyer, and the jury would come back and says, not guilty. And the guy said, give my money back. I said, why? I didn't do anything.
See? They just said so.
I didn't do anything. They just said
The craziest thing in this country is you get found guilty of a crime, okay, then you go to prison. If you get found innocent or not guilty, you don't even get your bail back. So you got to post your bail back, and let's say you don't have money to put bail, you got to put up 10% with a bail bondsman. They had to give you 3 times the money back just for the trouble if you're found not guilty. You know what I mean? You got to pay for a lawyer. You got to pay bail.
Jeffrey, has there been any time that anybody has filed a claim against the state or against the county for wrongful prosecution in order to get their money back?
We had a client in the public defender's office who was wrongfully imprisoned for 10 years because the police withheld evidence and he was found innocent. But there's a statute on the books that says you only get $100 a day for being in prison wrongfully. So he actually did end up
36
suing,
grand a year.
and he got some money.
10 years, 360
But
grand.
$100 a day? I mean, come on,
But there have been occasions when
Yeah.
People who have been wrongfully convicted
You can
have got
sue.
more than
Oh,
that.
you can sue.
Yeah,
But
you
you got to
can-
show intent. You got to show the prosecutor intentionally.
Malicious intent?
Yeah, malicious intent, which is hard to prove.
I want to thank Jeff Adachi, Public Defender of San
That's it?
Francisco, for being
That's
our
it?
guest again.
We could do a whole
on the
hour
Willie
with him.
Show. We could and we should.
Yeah.
And, in 2015, I want to invite you back now. I feel like David Letterman. Please come back
Thanks, Paul.
next year
Yeah.
and join us on the Will and Willie Show live from the Gold Dust Lounge.
And
at
wear
Fisherman's
your
Wharf.
T-shirt in Santa Rosa now.
I will wear, and by the way, our next guest up, stick around, because Russ Stanley from the San Francisco World Champion Giants is
Go
here.
Giants! Go Giants!
In support of Lefty O'Doul's Foundation. They're getting gloves for kids, and the annual Lefty O'Doul's New Christmas Eve toy drive, and this is an incentive. Show up at a show sometime because you could win a pair of tickets in the front row.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.